So if you have big dreams, naturally, it's going to fire you up. But are you possibly putting undue stress upon yourself? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Todd Impact Show. This is the Q&A section, and I love the Q&A. We're getting great questions. Thank you for bringing the questions to me so that I can answer them. Always go to toddurkin.com/impact podcast, and you can ask those questions right there. You can hit me up on the Instagram, DM me, however those questions are coming in, because I am getting some great questions. And speaking of your input, I've got to just thank all of you for the reviews that are popping in on iTunes. They really help us move the needle. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share one that just came in today. And this is from, well, I'm going to probably butcher the name. Thenis. This review was awesome. Huge fan. I devour your podcast as part of my morning routine and ritual while working out. The Rutgers Wrestling Doormat the Dynasty podcast with my buddy Scott Goodale, that's episode 36, was off the charts. I'm a former Rutgers wrestler and have been blessed with getting to know the entire staff and many of the kids during Scott's tenure. They didn't build a team, they built a program. They developed great wrestlers, but even better young men. When you wake up with an attitude of gratitude and lead from the perspective of giving, not receiving, great things happen. Keep up the great work, TD. Hey, Thenis, thank you so much for that positive review on iTunes. It really helps us move the needle, and I'm glad that I'm part of your workout routine early in the morning. You're probably like down in the basement. There's like cobwebs. It's cold. You got your gray hoodie on. You got your little skull cap on. And then you hear a little voice saying, yoo-hoo, yeah, you know who it is. It's time to wake up. Oh, dark 30, 5:30. So with that being said, my friends, it's that time for the Impact Show to get rocking and rolling with the Q&A section. Let's hit the mic, Zach. We're back. That was some pretty awesome music, Zach. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed that music. It wasn't quite rocky, but pretty darn inspiring. Yes, this is the Q&A section of the Impact Podcast. I always love the Q&A because it's all about you. Matter of fact, I have two great questions today. Two great questions. I'm going to keep them coming rapid fire. Check these ones out. The first one comes from Clay Manley. My good man Clay asks, hey, TD, hope you're doing well. Quick question for you. Do you have any stress management-related resources you'd suggest? As you know, I often struggle with stress and anxiety. It's been a great year at my company, and I received a significant promotion just 9 months into the gig. But the stress and pressure is getting to me. One of my personal goals in 2020 is to take control of that stress and anxiety. Curious if you know any folks, books, resources, etc. that might help. Happy to pay it forward and spread the gospel to others. Hey, Clay, thank you for the question. I really appreciate this. And I wanted to address this because I think when it comes to stress and anxiety, man, there's several things that I want to cover today. And when it comes to just like, I'm going to first off assume that everyone's working out, everyone's exercising, because we know that is like the best medicine for overcoming stress and anxiety. So I'm going to make that one of my points. Unless you want to make it one of the points because you're not working out, you got to be working out. Obviously, it's tremendously valuable. You get your dose every day, and I'm going to talk about your dose of Durkin or your Impact Podcast. Dose meaning dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. These hormones are going to jack your mindset up and make you feel better. So whether it be a walk, you're getting the dog out for a walk this morning, you're in the cellar, in the basement with that hoodie on, getting after it, you're at the gym. I want you guys to make sure that you're working out. But here I've got 5 ways to lower your anxiety, lower your stress for you, Clay, and anyone else who is dealing with a little extra added pressure in their life today. Number 1, and some of these guys are outside the box and not ones you typically hear me say, so I'm going off the cuff a little bit. The first one is, are you seeing a naturopathic doctor? A naturopathic doctor. I've been actually using a naturopathic doctor for 5 years. And gosh, I could have a complete discussion with a naturopathic doctor here on the podcast. But the bottom line with a naturopathic doctor is, I think when they do your blood work and they see where you're at, your hormones, and they're going to treat you naturally based on where you're at metabolically. I have found great results using a naturopathic doctor, and I'm a huge believer in them. And I think that could benefit anyone whose health might need a little extra boost right now, whether it be stress or anxiety, whether you're feeling lethargic, whether you're feeling you don't have the same zip that you used to have. Check out a naturopathic doctor, and if you're local, I have some resources for you. If you're not, then certainly do your due diligence. But to me, naturopathy is a great way to have some integrative functional medicine. Integrative functional medicine could be a huge aspect of your medical team, along with an allopathic doctor. Obviously, if someone has depression, you need to see an allopathic doctor and get some medical treatment. But for me, I love just going to a naturopathic doctor to make sure I'm dialed in on all aspects, so I have that zzz, I call it that zzz, that you're dialed in with that. Number two, what I would say when it comes to just dealing with stress and anxiety, you'd think it's kind of normal and common, but I'm just going to say breathwork and meditation. Breathwork and meditation. Now, on a previous episode, I believe it was episode number 38, if I'm not mistaken, when I talked about breathwork before, I talked about 5-5-5 breathwork, alternate nostril breathing, Wim Hof breathwork. But episode 38, take a look back at that or listen to that, because I actually went through demonstrations of that. Now, obviously, we breathe throughout the day. 18 to 22,000 times a day are we breathing. But if you're dealing with some anxiety, or you just want to lower your blood pressure, your heart rate, your stress, then infuse this 5 minutes a day. Now, you could also use an app. There's many apps out there. I've used Headspace in the past, and Headspace is a great app that you can use just to work on your breath and meditation, and even your visualization as well. Now, Clay, this next one is one you're probably not going to expect from me, but I've heard great claims from it. CBD oil. CBD oil. Now, I don't personally use CBD oil, and I don't necessarily endorse it, but I have had many close friends and family members who have used CBD oil to lower anxiety. I'm still hung up on the stupid stigma that, it's like smoking marijuana and getting high but CBD oil does not have THC. That's my own problem. I got to overcome with that. But I think it's worth investigating the oil, the CBD oil, because again, it does have tremendous benefits, and I think it's going to become more apparent in the mainstream healthcare when we look at just being proactive. And I'd be remiss if I didn't share that, because the research I've done certainly has many benefits to that as well. For me, I just got to overcome that stigma that, man, I'm not putting drugs in my body, but CBD oil is not a drug. So that's another discussion. But CBD oil, again, I know many people who use CBD oil as a way to reduce stress and anxiety, along with, of course, exercise, breath work, and all the other things. Number 4 of 5, your evening and morning routine. Your evening and morning routine. Now, the reason I share this, guys, is because the way you start your day is everything. And if you're starting your day, the first thing you do, if perhaps you turn on your phone and check your social media first thing in the morning, shame on you as I rub my fingers together, because that alone is going to rapid fire your stress and anxiety. At least for me, it gives me anxiety when I turn my phone on first thing. It's my first rule I have out of my 13 rules of living. I don't turn on the phone because it gives me anxiety, because I have not even yet done my morning routine. And that is going to include my quiet time, my prayer time, my workout time before the phone goes on. So that's a very important aspect when it comes to your morning routine. Don't turn on your phone first thing. Break a sweat. Listen to a podcast. The Impact Show, of course, is going to help reduce your stress. It's going to get your blood pressure up a little bit, because it's going to get you full fired up. But I want you to make sure that you end your workouts with about 5 minutes of breath work again on that. Now, that's the morning aspect. Then turn your phone on. But you know what often gets looked over? And this is important for all of you listening in, because you're probably in the morning right now as you listen to this, is your evening routine, your nighttime routine. Now, check this out, the 3-2-1 technique. I actually heard Brendan Burchard talk about this a while back, and I try to use this as part of my arsenal as well, 3-2-1 on this. 3 hours before bed, don't eat. 2 hours before bed, stop working. Ooh, y'all got anxiety. Just listen to that. 2 hours before bed, stop working. And 1 hour before bed, no screen time. Oh my gosh, now your blood pressure really went up. Like, oh my gosh, can I do that? When I'm talking screen time, I'm talking computers, TV, phone. No streaming the Netflix in bed. If you were to do that in the evening, that's going to allow you to have more REM sleep at night so that if you get your 7+ hours of sleep, it's going to help you recover on that. So you can also, you're like, well, what do I do with my time, Todd? Well, you can talk to your spouse or whatever you want to do with your family. The 1 hour, you could read a great book, take an Epsom salts bath, even throw a little lavender in there. Oh, that'll get you relaxed. Warm green tea. You can journal. You can pray. You can read the Bible. Read. Relax. Take some breaths. Stretch. All of these things, I promise you that if you do these, it is going to allow you to sleep better. And if you sleep better, your hormones are going to be more balanced and you will feel better. So the bottom line is habits. These are all habits, and habits will either increase or decrease anxiety. The habits that you create are imperative for your reduction in anxiety. Matter of fact, think about this, less scrolling on social media throughout the day. Maybe you have to reduce what's on your to-do list. I mean, some of your to-do lists, man, that's one thing I'm always working on is like, how do I focus on the things that most need to get done in the day? It's not how long the to-do list is. It's what's important on the to-do list, and are you focusing on those things and chunking your time on that? And then lastly on that, before I go to my fifth and final point, is saying no more often. Are you saying no? Even at work, are you just like taking everything on? Clay asked the question about feeling overwhelmed and anxious. It's like, are you doing things that are moving the needle for your company and for the mission of what you're supposed to do? Which brings me to my last point on this. I think it's a great topic, by the way, and there's no one time, whether it be early in the year, late in the year, I think stress and anxiety are running rampant. And the fifth and final point, along with the other four I've made, is lastly, manage your expectations and even your habits. Manage your expectations. What do I mean by manage your expectations? Now, you know I'm the king of like dreaming big, and I'm an optimist, and I always see the positive, but like, the more you put on your plate, naturally your stress is going to go up. So if you have big dreams, naturally it's going to fire you up. But are you possibly putting undue stress upon yourself? Maybe you actually have to take some stuff off that plate. Again, are you working out? How can you be more focused at work to make sure that the distractions are not popping up? Maybe when you're at work, you have to turn like your auto, all the emails that are coming in and your text, turn your phone off. Turn all of that off, the automatic notifications that are popping up, because I'd ask you this question. What's the root cause of your stress? What's the root cause of your stress? Like, what do you guys spend most of your day stressing about, or what really increases your anxiety? Is it overwhelm? Is it feel like you're not making enough money? Is it you're not fulfilling your purpose, that you have more potential in you that you're not tapping into? What is it? Because it is really, really important. Because when you identify that purpose, when you identify how you need to spend your time, and you can allocate your energy to the things that matter most at work, at home, on your free time, and you focus your time, that's crucial, because at work, then you can hopefully either delegate things to some of your colleagues, or you can even maybe eliminate it if it's not moving the needle, right? And I'll just ask you this question last. What's the story you're telling yourself? And is it realistic? What's the story you're telling yourself? Like maybe here's what I need to do to survive, which there's nothing wrong with surviving. Matter of fact, that's actually a pretty good mentality to keep, is you got to survive. You got to put food on the table. And here's what I need to do to thrive. So here's A, B, and C I need to do to survive. And here's, the 1, 2, or 3 things I need to do to thrive. And if some of those things that are causing your anxiety might be, if it's financial pressure, maybe you have to cut down on some expenses. Maybe some lifestyle things are in your life now. You want to buy a house, but maybe the house you want to buy should be 2,500 square feet, not 5,000 square feet. Maybe there's lifestyle choices and trips that you are taking, or you're running up credit card debt that's causing stress and financial tension, which is feel like a noose is around your neck on that. So maybe there are some lifestyle choices because of financial pressure or burden. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When your outgoing exceeds your incoming, your upkeep becomes your downfall. So how do you increase your incoming and really reduce some of your outgoing as well? Final points on this: control the controllables. So Clay and everyone else with this, when it comes to stress, when it comes to anxiety, I want you to do two things. Number one, be where your feet are at. Be where your feet are at. Now, this is a skill, I believe, that when you can be totally present with the conversations in front of you and happy with what you have today, knowing that you want to get to another place tomorrow, because there's nothing wrong with wanting to get to another place. I'm the king of that as well. Like, hey, how do you say, here's my dreams and aspirations for tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now, but you have to be happy with where you're at now. And happiness and joy is found on the inside, and that takes prayer. That takes quiet time. That takes journaling. All of the things that you can do on an everyday basis to be where your feet are at. And once again, control the controllables. What can you control? There are things that will happen in your life that are out of your control. You can control your mentality, your mindset of how you react to them. You can control who's in your life. You can control with what are you eating? You can control of are you working out? You can control right now if you're going to pick up the pace on the treadmill right now as you're hitting the speed up button. I like that. I can see you right now. Yeah, I have a camera right now looking in on this podcast on you, so y'all better be picking that bad boy up. So, Clay, I really appreciate the question. Bottom line is this. Stress and anxiety is not always a bad thing. Sometimes we think of it as a bad thing. To me, stress and anxiety is a litmus test. If it's a little overbearing, pressure's too high, then it allows us to recalibrate. What do you need to do to get that recalibration, that rejuvenation back in your life? Think about the 5 things I shared and make sure that the training aspect is always the foundation. If you can be training hard and taking the quiet time, the prayer time for the inside and nourish your spirit, nourish your soul, and be where your feet are at and control the controllables, I believe then we're going to find that joy and that sanity that we all want on a regular basis. Great question right there. Hey, I'm going to answer one more question. It comes from my man, Bernie Rhinerson. Now, Bernie's a client of Fitness Quest 10. Here's his question, rapid fire. I'll be 70 in 1 more year, and I'm wondering, what are the most important things I can do to be sure I age healthy and strong? Bernie, thanks for the question. And by the way, I love when I get a bunch of questions from 70-year-olds that like living strong and getting after it, because you know what, Bernie? The same thing, like if you're in your 20s right now, you're in your 40s, man, some of the things I'm going to share on this answer are applicable for everyone. You know, Jack LaLanne, he died like the day before he died, he was working out. And that brother died in his mid-90s. I want to be like Jack LaLanne on that. So, Bernie, you inspire me with what you do. And a couple of the things I'm going to share here for Bernie, and this, you guys could take notes in your phone if you're on the elliptical, if you're driving, do not take notes right now. I don't want you driving. You get pulled over and the officer says, "Why are you driving in Texas?" "Oh, sorry, officer, I was listening to Todd Durkin Impact Show. I'm fired up right now." Hey, that's good for business, but I don't want you getting a ticket. Number 1, lift weights twice a week. When I say lift weights, 70-year-olds, I'm talking about, I want you getting after it with kettlebell swings, med ball slams, prowlers, battling ropes, TRX rows, deadlifts, and of course, you got to finish with a little arm farm. It's imperative that you work on the arm farm. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you got to make sure that you continue to work on the strength. Build your lean muscle tissue, because 1 to 2% of your lean muscle tissue is getting eliminated every year because of the, quote, aging process. I don't want you to be normal. I don't want you to be average. I don't want you to be like everyone else who's walking around with a cane and looking like you're 95 and you're 70. I want you looking strong, feeling strong, and energized. So it might not be the same weight as someone 30 years younger than you or what you used to do, but get out there and move the body and don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Now, along with that strength work, don't forget about balance work. I want you to work on balance. Even if it's 5-10 minutes for those 2 times a week, because that's going to help you prevent falls. No, I don't want you falling, because if you fall, outstretched arm, you're going to dislocate your shoulder, tear your rotator cuff, you got surgery, and the healing process is much longer as you get older, and that's a whole other topic. And lastly, hand-eye coordination with this. I want you to make sure you're doing some hand-eye coordination, like dribbling a basketball, like catching a ball, whether it be a tennis ball, a basketball, a football, because hand-eye coordination typically decreases as we get older. If you don't use it, very good, you'll lose it. Number 2, cardiovascular work. I want you to work your heart 3 to 4 times a week. Get that heart rate up and get after it. Swimming, hiking, even pickleball. This is like the new fad in America, pickleball. So if any of you want to get me a little challenge, we'll have a little pickleball tournament. We'll have an impact pickleball tournament. I'm all for it. Just like the rebounder game here on Friday Morning Lights at Fitness Quest 10, a little pickleball is good for the soul. Number 3, nutrition. How about eating when it comes to being healthy and strong? Fiber, you got to amp it up. Fruits and veggies have to increase. How much more? More. Whatever it is, just eat more, like twice as much as you're doing now. Hydration, I'm always saying half your body weight in fluid ounces of water. You should be, back and forth to the bathroom during the day. Oh, but Todd, I get up in the middle of the night and I got to go to the bathroom. Good, it's part of your exercise routine. Get up in the middle of the night, and go to the bathroom. Plant-based foods and lower your sugar intake. I know y'all have a sweet tooth. Doesn't matter how old you are, lower sugar intake. I always say it, sugar is the devil. Sugar will soften you. It'll soften your body. It'll soften your mind. Say no to sugar. Decrease the sugar intake. Number 4, stretch more. Don't get stiff in the hips, boys and girls. Yeah, I don't care how old you are. You got to stretch more. Yoga, Pilates, or just downright more sport stretching is good for your body and it's good for your soul. This is where you can practice your breath work as well. How about sleep? Yeah, 7+ hours. You got to make sure you ramp that up. And guess what? Take more naps. Yeah, naps are good. 15 to 20-minute power naps. I'm not talking 2 to 3 hour sleep fests in the middle of the day, but a few naps. It's like your cat. Cat naps are good. 6, engage your brain. Ooh, what do you mean by that? Engage your brain. I want you to do more crossword puzzles. Learn a new language. By the way, do you ever try to learn German? I remember when I was younger, I'd go to sleep listening to Berlitz tapes. Anyone remember Berlitz tapes? Learning German is tough. If you're German and you're listening, and I want to come to Germany and spend a month there and just kind of be infused into Germany. I love Germany. I love Munich. I want to go back to Munich. So if you're German right now, I want to come over there for a few weeks, and I'm going to do a couple podcast episodes over in Germany. You got to read more. You got to listen to more podcasts, especially like the Impact podcast. It'll help kind of keep your brain right, keep your mind right. Number 7, I want you to embrace aging with a positive mindset. Now, if you're 50 listening and you're like, wait a second, I feel like I'm 70. Well, aging is a process that happens, right? And know this, regardless of your age, whether you're 50 or 70 or 90 listening in, because guess what? We have some 80 and 90-year-olds that listen to the Todd Durkin Impact Show. I know that for a fact. I know that. But those that have a more positive mindset, the latest studies show that they live 7.5 years longer than those with a negative mindset. So moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, get your mind right. Make sure you're positive. Make sure you're thinking clearly, and make sure you have that positive outlook on life. And the last one, I have 8 points here on this one, Bernie. I hope this helps you out, with strength and conditioning and nutrition and stretching and sleep and engaging your brain, embracing that positive mindset. The last one is living with more purpose. Live with purpose. Let me ask any of you, 20-year-olds, 70-year-olds, what fires you up? What fuels you? I think as you get older, purpose becomes deeper. What's firing your soul up? What are you most passionate about? I want you to embrace spiritual growth. As you get older, you probably think about mortality. And someday, you may not be on planet Earth any longer. And although I know I'm going to live till I'm 110 years old, I actually know I'm going to die on October 10th, 10/10, 2082. I'll be 110. I don't really know that, but that's my goal, is to embrace spiritual growth and do the things you love to do and not wait. Travel more. Get involved with philanthropic efforts. What are the things that you're most passionate about? And then as you do that, realize this. Age is not an excuse. Please don't say, well, I'm too old to travel to Europe. Or I always wanted to go to Australia, but I just can't do it anymore. You know what? In your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, man, don't ever take a single day for granted, and just don't say, I'm getting older, I can't do that. What I would say is don't stop doing the things that you love, because by doing that, then you're going to get old. Do the things that you love to do, and that'll keep you young. By not doing them, you will grow old. And then, have you ever thought about this question? I've been asked this before, and I love this question. I'm going to end it with this. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you really are? Let me repeat that. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you really are? Because some of you may think that you're 20 years older or 20 years younger, but it's a mindset. And as you physically age, I want you to think about your best practices and your habits. Just like I answered in the first question, it comes down to your habits. It comes down to your mindset. And yes, you're not going to always be as strong as you used to be. And yes, there are some things that you need to adapt. But I want you to really think about your health as your priority. And we talk about like making sure that your personal care, you've got to make sure that you really amp that up and you take extraordinary great personal care of yourself. Know this, that he or she who has their health has 1,000 dreams, and he or she does not has one. It's all about your health. Make sure, regardless of your age, whatever age you are listening into the podcast today, that you always prioritize your health, your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. And when you do that, I believe then you're going to be happy and you're going to be fulfilled. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I really love these questions coming in. Please, thank you so much for asking these questions. Keep them coming. I want them on all aspects of your health, your conditioning, your mindset. Could be on business as well, but whatever's going on in your life, regardless of your age, because I got a lot of ones coming in from folks in their teens and their 20s, as well as entrepreneurs and moms and dads and folks even in their 70s, 80s that want to know more. The Todd Durkin Impact Show is all about helping you be your absolute best self on all planes, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So whatever way I can help you and I want to serve you, ask the question so that we can continue infiltrating the universe with more positivity and energy in all that we do. Thanks again, and don't forget, by the way, you can help us. You can help us by making sure that you go over to iTunes. Now, listen, if you're like, what is iTunes? Ask someone younger than you. Ask someone like in their 20s or 30s, like, what's this iTunes stuff all about? Ask them. They can help you, because all you have to do is give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. Write us a review, because I'll tell you what, when I'm reading these reviews, man, sometimes my tears come to my eyes thinking, wow, I didn't know that we reached Europe and Asia and Australia and Canada and throughout the land from the northeast to the southeast to the great northwest all the way down to San Diego because of a simple podcast like this. Keep spreading the gospel in all that you do. Thank you for what you do. Go out there and have an incredible day. And until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, and whatever you do, live inspired. Create impact. Hey guys, have an incredible day. Peace and God bless.